Welcome to 12 Ounce Sports Radio and The Burn with Mitch Show. Here's your host, Mitch Bernstein.
And welcome to, as Colin Cosell said, The Burn with Mitch. This is your host, Mitch Bernstein on 12 Ounce Sports Network. Welcome to the program on this Tuesday, April 27th. We had a glorious day here in the East Coast, specifically the Philadelphia area. Bright sunshine, not a lot of wind, and mid-70s. Projected to go to the mid-80s tomorrow. Spring has finally sprung, thank goodness. Hope it's good weather where you are. Great show tonight, as usual, with three guests that come from three different realms of really baseball. Focus on baseball again tonight. You know that's my passion. So we've got some folks that are going to share some history and talk about present day in three different areas. We have an author. We have a young woman who is involved with her own website called Girls at the Game, and she's a host of the Locked on Red Sox podcast. And then finally, we have a play-by-play announcer for a minor league baseball team in Peoria, Illinois, where I used to live. And I have been to a couple of Peoria Chiefs games. Let's tell you who they are. So we're going to start off at 6:15 this evening with Don Zaminda. Don has written so many books, and we're going to discuss one of them and perhaps touch on another that came out this year. Primarily talking about baseball card collecting initially with Don, because he tells a great story about how we got started. A little Topps Bowman information. And then we'll talk about the book he wrote about Harry Carey, famed broadcaster for initially the St. Louis Cardinals, and then finally, with the Chicago Cubs. So we'll talk about the book that he wrote about Harry. We may touch on the new book he wrote about the Black Sox scandal. Following Don at 6:50 is Gabrielle Starr. Looking forward to talking to Gabrielle. She's out of Boston area. She is an avid, passionate Red Sox fan, as passionate probably as I am a Phillies fan. She got a podcast that she hosts, like I said, Locked on Red Sox, and she hosts her own website called Girl of the Game. Articles written by women for everyone is the tagline there. So we're going to have a chance to talk to Gabrielle about the Red Sox primarily. We'll hit on Girls at the Game in terms of what that's all about, and ask her a couple of questions about some things. I believe she was doing some decorating at home, and I found it kind of funny. She was posting on Twitter, I believe it was Gabrielle, and I'll get confirmation when she comes on, pictures. You know how it's hard to put pictures up, and it's like three of them in a row and making sure they're even, and I believe that she was the one that was doing that, and she was having a hard time and was so glad when she was done. And we could all relate to that. Those of us who have put up pictures in our homes. And then finally, we will talk to Cody Schindler. Cody is going to be doing play-by-play for the Peoria Chiefs this year in Peoria, Illinois. Place close to my home. It's where I met my wife, and where her family, some of her family still lives in Peoria. And I've been to the Peoria Chiefs Stadium. I've been to a game there, a couple of games there. But we're going to talk to Cody about what it was like to get to become play-by-play announcer with the Peoria Chiefs. So a wide variety of topics, which is what I love when I come on and do this stuff. And we're going to get to this in a few minutes. Don will be calling in at about 6:15. But first, I've got a couple of things to talk about with my Phillies. They still don't have a closer, as far as I can tell you. We all and I found this on Twitter from former sportscasters. Why do we get so stressed when Hector Neris comes on? Well, because he stinks. He's not a great closer, though his numbers will tell you differently. Okay, another 10 feet from Nolan Arenado last night, and it's a walk-off home run. So that was too close for comfort. You can't give Hector a 1-run lead. You can't give him a 2-run lead. It's got to give him a minimum of 3. And the pitching, I'll hit now with the back end of our pitching rotation really, really stinks. Don't know what Dave Dombrowski is going to do. A lot of controversy over Odubel Herrera coming back and playing center field. They brought Scott Kingery up, who, like I said, I think last week, he just has no clue. He can't hit the ball. He may be able to field, but he can't hit. What does that do for you in the National League? Even with a DH, it wouldn't help because he really can't hit the freaking ball. But the only good thing about this, and for, I guess, everybody in the National League East, is that you have the Mets at 9-8, and then you have the Phillies at 11-11. The Braves are 10-12, the Marlins are 10-12, and the Nationals are 8-11. So everybody was thinking that the Braves would run away with it, and possibly the Mets. 17, 22 games, whatever it is. It's still pretty even first month. Long time to go. I'm going to really get it. Well, I think we're all going to get a full feel for what it's going to be like in that division. And I think everybody in baseball, after the first 40 games, got to get a quarter of the season to go by. 40 games, we'll see where everybody ends up. Gabrielle is going to be, I'm sure, excited about talking about her Boston Red Sox. They are leading the East. If you follow baseball, they are 14-9, and they've got a plus 20 run differential, so they're scoring runs. They lead the American League in 119 runs scored. They actually are second in the major leagues behind the Reds with runs scored. So they're putting up some offense, and I'm going to talk to Gabrielle about what she thinks about that. And then, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with this National League East. And the National League Central, American League Central, Kansas City Royals, 14-7. Oakland A's, 15-8. Some nice little surprises, and the Dodgers and the Giants are both at 15-8. So, and hopefully some of you watched that Dodgers Giants game. Dodgers Padres series. Yeah, legitimate. It's fun because it's going to be a legitimate rivalry all year long. So that's fun. Just gotta appreciate what we got in terms of people playing baseball, guys playing baseball, teams playing baseball, and we're able to go to some baseball games, which is awesome. So we'll get into more baseball in just a minute. Shout out to my nephew, Jared, who celebrated a birthday yesterday. Jared, how are you this old at 43? That's just crazy. I don't get it. Jared is my nephew, one of my brother's 3 boys. Happy birthday, Jared. Great dad and hubby to Alicia. So that's my shout out for Jared. And then I got a couple of other shout outs on birthdays that came up or are coming up this next week. Let me get to them right now. Let me see. I know we have a couple people. Let's see. Yes, let's get to these right now. So yes, Jared yesterday. 2 young ladies, my daughter's age, also twins, Brittany and Brandy, celebrated their birthday yesterday, April 26th. My buddy, next door neighbor, Joe Gibson, celebrated his birthday on April 24th. And tomorrow, Negro League player Russell Patterson, he turns 82. Good for you, Russell. And Mark Roseman, gentleman who does a great broadcast in New York, turns, I'm not going to say your age, Mark. I don't know you well enough to tell people your age if you're listening. So, but happy birthday to them. All right, so on to something uniquely different. In the realm of baseball, and I know I've mentioned this before, is the fact that we have had Ellen Adair on, and she has done, and I have told you this before, a victory dance after the Phillies win. And I mentioned to her that maybe we should do a contest. Wouldn't it be fun? She said, well, she didn't necessarily want to be involved in it too much, which is fine. But her name is on the email address, and that I have posted, that I will be posting. Again, I apologize. I was supposed to do this last week and I didn't get to it. So we're going to have a victory dance contest. We're going to ask the contacts I have and all the different teams that I've spoken to this season, baseball reporters, to see if they can get their readers interested in performing a dance that will be judged. Quickly, the rules. You have to wear your team's something showing that who your team is. I obviously will be wearing Phillies. It's got to be set to music. It's no longer than 30 seconds. It can't include any inappropriate gestures or inappropriate language in your music. And once you get this done and recorded, you can email them to the following email address, and it is Adair Burn with Mitch Victory Dance at yahoo.com. That's Adair, Adair, Burn with Mitch Victory Dance at yahoo.com. Send those entries in. We're going to have the contest probably go through June the 1st. And then there will be prizes given away. I promise you, there'll be prizes given away. But more will be posted on the Burn with Mitch Twitter feed and on my own Twitter, Phil's Fanatic. I'll send that out to folks. Get your dancing shoes on. Get ready to do a victory dance. Prizes will be awarded, and not some schlocky crap. We're going to give you some good stuff from your own team. So, start thinking about that. I myself will embarrass myself and my friends, and well, primarily my daughters, because I will also have to do a victory dance. So I know what my finishing move is going to be, but that's about it. So it doesn't have to be 30 seconds, but no longer than 30 seconds. Maximum 30-second video. So follow along with the Burn with Mitch Twitter, and you'll find more about that in the upcoming week. NHL Draft is coming up Thursday. I know Captain Lou coming on after me tonight. The Captain Lou Extravaganza will be on at 8 o'clock, and I will give you the guest. I'll be talking with him later. But he will be doing some draft talk tonight talking about the NFL draft. And boy, oh boy, it's going to be interesting to see who the Eagles pick. Where are they going to go? Who knows? With this general manager and this owner who is butting his nose in, who the heck knows who they're going to end up getting? We know what the needs are. They need a nice wide receiver. They need some safety help. I don't know if they draft another quarterback. Wherever you are in this country, you're going to hear some loud screaming backlash. That's all I can tell you. All right, we're going to switch gears to Don Zaminda. He's going to be coming up in just a minute. We are talking baseball cards, Harry Carey, and a lot of other fun baseball stuff. Speaking of Don, here he comes right now. Hey, Don, this is Mitch. How are you?
Okay, Mitch, how are you?
I'm doing great. Don, where are you calling from?
L.A.
Oh, you're in L.A. Okay. Whereabouts? I have a daughter living in Culver City.
Oh, yeah, we're in West L.A., which is probably 5 miles or so north and a little bit west.
Yeah.
We're in.
Go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, we're just on the edge of Santa Monica.
Gotcha.
But I go down to Culver City all the time.
No, oh, do you really? Yeah. She's actually, believe it or not, she's here this week. She's actually in the East Coast. She's doing some business trip, so we get to see her Friday. We're excited about having her come home. So we're excited, but we love that area. We're going to be coming out there in June. do some fun stuff. So thank you for taking the time, Don.
Happy
To call us.
happy to do it.
Call me. Appreciate it. So much information, Don, that you bring to the table here. When I found you and saw you, I was intrigued by a couple of things. Number one, I love talking to authors. You've written so much stuff up for Saber, so much about statistics. Though we're not going to get into that too much. But I just, if people haven't been able to, people haven't don't know who you are, folks. Find Don. He has written so much about so many things in baseball, primarily stats. Not to mention all of the books he's written too. So we're going to get into that in a second, Don. But you found yourself, and I think I just read this yesterday. Was it 1956? You started collecting baseball cards.
It was actually 55. You're
55.
close.
Okay, I wasn't bad. I was close. So tell me the story about how you started collecting baseball, because I want to get into a little bit about, because a lot of collectors, some of the collectors I have following me, I tweeted out to them to listen tonight. So tell me about how you got started, and we're gonna get into what's going on now with that hobby.
Sure. Yeah. Well, 1955. I was 7 years old. I'm an old guy, and my uncle who was my godfather, had played semi-pro baseball, so he was a big baseball fan, and so was I. And one Saturday night, he said, "I got a present for you," and he handed me four packs of Topps baseball cards. And I thought these were the most beautiful things I had ever seen. And it was actually fairly late in the summer, so I couldn't collect a lot of that set that year. Eventually, I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually, my first real foray into card collecting, kind of big time, was with the Bowman football cards.
Okay.
In 1955. It was the last set of cards that Bowman came out with, and they really had a nice NFL set. And I just kind of went crazy that fall collecting those cards, and I've been hooked ever since.
What was so special about those cards? What really got you?
Well, they're great to look at. The design, particularly of the Topps cards,
Mm-hmm.
in all the years that this guy named Cy Berger was in charge of design for Topps, he just had a knack for creating cards that were really nice visually to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And so just the appeal was instant with me. But I was always interested in statistics and finding out about the players. And I was always interested in the backs of the cards. They'd have these little cartoons sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they'd have great stats, and you'd find out a lot about the players that way.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm going to jump real quick to the present. I don't know, and then we'll go back to the past, because I want to share with you a couple of things I'm sure you have identified with too. And I find myself when I get some cards, it's so funny because right now the card market is booming. I mean, just the first time I've been to the local Target, it's the first time, and I've seen this on Twitter before with other folks posting, they finally put a sign up that said cards, including Pokemon, are limited to 2 packs per person. That's it. So I don't, but the problem is, here's the thing: are these collectors looking at the backs of the cards? I know I did too. I wanted to know at some point where they were from, if they were from Philadelphia, where I was from, or New Jersey, or Pennsylvania, and there was a connection for me, right? Okay, well that's cool. That guy lives in Pennsylvania, or he came from New Jersey, or he went to this college that I know. Um, I don't think people are doing that now, and that's kind of a shame because it's all about how much can you invest and make money for the most part, don't you think?
Yeah, I really tend to agree with that. One thing that's happened, particularly since the pandemic, where people were just kind of cooped up at home so much, collecting started taking off.
It did.
And what's happened, in particularly the last few years, the other thing that's happened the last few years is that the different card companies have kind of created scarcity by coming out with cards that, one card in 150,000 will have Mike Trout's signature on it,
Right.
or something like that, to
Right.
create a kind of scarcity instantaneously. Like when I was a kid, nobody knew that the 1952 Mickey Mantle card was worth a lot of money because, first of all, hardly anybody had it. All we knew was that it was a card with Mickey Mantle on it.
Right.
It wasn't for many years later that we found out how scarce those cards were, and that started increasing the value of them. Nowadays, they deliberately create scarcity, and what happens is they have these auctions, and people bid against each other, and you'll have like a Mike Trout card from 2 or 3 years ago that will go for several $1 million. It's just kind of a false scarcity that's created.
But you know what I do like what they came out with, Don, and I never hadn't seen these. I mean, I would say recently, maybe, and to me, recently for cards is maybe 7 years ago, and maybe it's the first time for me. The relic cards, the cards with the bat piece or the uniform piece. I'm like, and the first time I saw that, I was so intrigued because how often are you able to get something that was game worn, you know? So I became really excited about those. When did that start? Was that like in the 90s? I didn't even remember seeing him in the 90s. Do you remember? Do you know?
Yeah, it's pretty new.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Probably late 90s it came in. I mean, it's a clever idea, and everybody kind of wants something that's, player war or something like that. So that's a great way to create scarcity also.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. I remember collecting, it was so funny how things change. So in the overabundance of cards that were produced by Donruss and Fleer and Topps in the 90s, it was funny at that time, and Upper Deck, obviously, they made their debut in 89. You looked at the 89 Donruss, right? And the 80, I think it was the 89 or 90 Fleer. Were not at the time considered to be really good looking cards. People didn't like them, and you see them now, and people go, "Oh yeah, I love that card." That's interesting. So it's interesting how generationally these things change. Again, like I was open a pack at my local Five and Dime, and whether it was a Willie Mays or a Koufax, it was like cool. I love and back then there were so many stars to collect. It was amazing. Do I have them now? Unfortunately, not. But yeah, things have changed. Yes, the pandemic has really skyrocketed some of these prices of these cards. It's just amazing, and you really can't get them. But the funny part is, what's happening is people are posting pictures of mostly guys sitting outside of Target at 6 o'clock in the morning waiting to get in because they want to get first dibs on these cards. I mean,
I believe it.
Absolutely amazing. It's crazy.
I believe it. Another thing that's happened, this is something that really came in, a couple decades ago, but card grading has really done a lot to increase the market. I buy, like, for vintage cards, if it's like a really premium card, I kind of like to get a graded card because, I'm trusting somebody that's a fairly reliable as far as the actual condition of the card. So those cards are really actually a fairly good investment. But PSI, which is the biggest card grader,
yes,
they've gotten so much business lately that they've had to put a temporary hold on getting cards from people submitted because they have such a backlog of cards that they need to grade that they've had to stop taking new ones for a while.
I know.
I mean that's how the market has gone crazy.
I've read that, and people are getting annoyed at PSA. I actually, next week, one of my guests is Mike Osaki from PSA. He's the lead appraiser from there. So it's going to be interesting to talk to him, get his thoughts about, what's happened in the hobby and, what's happening to PSA, what's been going on. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to that conversation because he's obviously the one to know about how the pandemic, what's happened again since March of last year, when people had to stay home. Craziness.
Yeah, it's really true.
All right, so we're going to switch to your book about Harry. I lived in Chicago for 10 years. Listened to Harry. Harry and Steve Stone were a great pair. But so your book about Harry takes it through his entire. It's basically autobiography, right? Talking about Harry, where he grew up, and starting in St. Louis and getting to the Cubs.
That's correct. Yes.
So Harry was he? What was his family life like? I forget. Was he? Um, I'll let you.
He was actually an orphan.
Orphan. That's what I thought. Yeah.
His his father apparently went away to World War One. Harry was born in 1914. His father never came back, so he was raised by his mother as a single parent. And then when Harry was 7 years old, his mother died. So he actually became a foster child of a relative and lived with fairly distant cousins. And he was brought up that way in the St. Louis area. So he had kind of a rough childhood.
Mm-hmm. And what was his upbringing like in terms, did he go to college? How did he get into broadcasting?
You know, he never went to college. He just had various jobs, but he was always interested in getting into broadcasting. And he just took it upon himself to get a job. He did auditions for radio stations, and he listened to a Cardinal game, and he went to see the sponsor of the Cardinals and said, "Your announcer's really dull. I can do a better job than you can."
And I can see Harry saying that thing with his voice. You know? Right?
Even when he was in his 20s, he was still Harry.
Yeah.
So the guy heard Harry do an audition, and he was pretty impressed, and he said, "Oh, we can't start you in the major leagues right away, but why don't you go to a smaller town and get some experience, and then, you know, if we like you, we'll bring you back." So Harry went to Kalamazoo, Michigan. He went to Joliet, Illinois. He went to a couple of the small towns, and within about 2 years, he was ready for the big time.
He really
and
was.
The
wow.
Cardinals,
Wow.
the Cardinals hired him as an announcer, and he just took off from there. I mean, he was an immediate hit. He was a sensation from the very beginning.
So he was there for what? Was it 16 years he was in St. Louis, or was that the Cubs?
He was actually there for 25 years.
At St. Louis.
Yes. And then the story was that he was fooling around with the daughter-in-law of Gussie Bush, who was the owner of the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that was true or not, enough people believed it to make it uncomfortable for Harry and the Bush family. So they fired him. He went to Oakland and worked. He went to Oakland and worked for Charlie Finley for a year. That must have been a great combination. And then he came to Chicago.
That's funny. So he burned that bridge, potentially, allegedly. But did the St. Louis fans beloved to him as the Cubs fans became?
I think they were. I mean, they were outraged when he left. But the advantage that the Cardinals had was that they had Jack Buck.
Yes.
Who had been Harry's sidekick for over 10 years.
Okay, so Harry
and
and Jack
you know
worked
how
together.
Buck, yeah, you know how good Jack Buck is.
Yes.
So when Harry left, Jack just took over, and then Harry really wasn't missed very much.
He wasn't missed, no. I mean, you talk about a combination. Holy mackerel, you can't get much better. So being in Budweiser area, St. Louis, was Harry known to imbibe as much as we have heard?
Yeah, he was famous for it. In fact, one of the guys that I interviewed for the book was a fellow named Grant DePorter, who was the owner of the Harry Carey restaurant chain.
Mm-hmm.
And he said after Harry died, they found that Harry was keeping a diary. They called it his drinking diary. And I guess for tax purposes, Harry would write down like which bars he went to after the game and then late at night. And he would go to different bars until like 2 or 3 in the morning until they closed. And he would write down, exactly what he had. So I guess he could claim that as a tax deduction because it was a business expense for him. So one of the guys who worked for the restaurant did a calculation on a couple of years of Harry's drinking diary and figured out that Harry had had 250,000 drinks in his life.
Oh my gosh. Good old.
But, you have to say, I mean, he held up pretty well.
No, he did. I mean, he really, obviously, he did. Um, were there ever times when in St. Louis, because I listened to him in Chicago, it sounded like sometimes he was on the sauce. Did that ever get him in trouble? Did anybody ever accuse him of being drunk while he was broadcasting?
I don't recall it happening in St. Louis.
Okay.
I do know that it happened in Chicago, not after he went to the Cubs, but when he was with the White Sox. He used to do, when they'd have day games on Wednesday afternoon, Harry would do the game from the bleachers. And he would drink right along with the fans.
He would.
And if you listen to some of the tapes, you can tell that Harry's pretty high toward the end of those games because he was drinking right along with the fans.
Right along with the
so
fans.
It did happen.
Yeah, it did.
It did happen.
Did he ever get in trouble in Chicago for doing that?
Not for that. What he got in trouble in Chicago for was harping on players and management. As a fan, we loved it because he felt he was saying what we were feeling. This guy isn't performing.
Mm-hmm.
This owner isn't doing enough to improve the team. And Harry was our voice. But, that backfired on him a couple times. In fact, when John Allen owned the team before Bill Veeck got it,
Mm-hmm.
John Allen had tried to fire Harry, and if he had kept the team, Harry would not have stayed.
He wouldn't have stayed. So Harry, I'm only remembering back to my time, Don, listening and watching Harry when I was in Chicago. So that was let's see, I was in Chicago 80, so really Peoria area 79 through 85. Okay, but I was so I met my wife in 79. I lived in Peoria and went to Wrigley and Chicago and Comiskey through 85. So I only listened to him, I believe it was Steve Stone. Did you ever have a chance to did you interview Steve Stone for the book at all?
Stone was one of the few people that didn't seem to want to talk to me. I think he felt that he'd talked about Harry enough.
Oh, really?
At that point. But I talked to pretty much every sidekick that Harry had, like Tom Brenneman and Dwayne Stats and all the guys, even from St. Louis that he worked with, were happy to talk about him. And for the most part, they loved working with Harry. But Jack Buck always said he knew that when he was with Harry that it was understood that he was number two. And that if something important was happening in the game, Harry wanted to be behind the mic. And Jack got along with him because Jack understood that. And most of the guys who worked with him, who were in that relationship, got along with him fine.
They did. So his coworkers were good with him. I mean, and Jack was how old were they when they were sidekicks in St. Louis? How old was Jack? Were they the same? I mean, he was a little older, wasn't he, or younger?
Jack is, I would guess, probably a good 15 years younger than Harry was.
That's right. Okay, yeah. I mean, so he would kind of had to allow Harry to do.
Yeah, because Jack was probably still in his 20s.
20s. Okay.
When he started in St. Louis, and by that time, Harry was about 40 years old. So there was quite a bit of an age difference there. But from the start they got along. The one guy that Harry didn't get along with was Milo Hamilton.
He didn't get along with Milo?
No, I could understand Milo's point of view because in St. Louis, Milo was being groomed, for a big role on the Cardinals broadcast team. Mm-hmm. And then he just didn't get along with Harry. So after 1 year, Harry said, this guy's got to go. And so Milo ended up losing his job in St. Louis and coming to Chicago. Mm-hmm. So he goes to Chicago, he goes to Atlanta, he goes to Pittsburgh, and then he goes to the Cubs. And it's all set up that Milo is going to be succeeding Jack Brickhouse as the Cubs announcer. And they had, in fact, announced it. And what happened was Harry was getting on the outs with the White Sox and put out feelers that he was available. And the Cubs just jumped on it and hired Harry. And Milo was kind of left in the lurch. They made him the sidekick again. And Milo understandably did not like that.
Mm-hmm.
So after a couple of years, he was gone from Chicago again.
Wow. Good, Milo, because I got to I met Milo a little bit when I was living in Houston. He was really good. I mean, he's really good in Houston when he in his heyday. When I was
Yeah, he was very popular.
yeah.
Um, but he was just jealous of Harry. I talked to one of the Houston announcers, and he said that when Milo worked for the Astros,
Mm-hmm.
and they came to Chicago, and seventh inning stretch came up, and Harry started singing,
Mm-hmm.
Milo would stand up and turn his back to the crowd, kind of in silent protest of Harry doing this.
Wow.
Yeah, he was
He
he was
didn't
a
like
bitter
him.
man.
No. So
No, he was a bitter
he
man.
was bitter for sure. So yeah, let's talk. Can we talk a little bit about that seventh inning stretch? When did that start? When did Harry start singing? Is that in the book at all?
It was actually a Bill Veeck idea.
Oh, okay.
When Veeck took over the team, um, he noticed that they always would play the song during the seventh inning stretch, but there wasn't the kind of sing along that we've become used to now. But Harry would kind of sing along with the organist, Nancy Faust. And the people who were kind of around the broadcast booth that could hear him, they would sing along with Harry.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill Veeck thought this is a great idea. So one night he just puts the mic on Harry when he's singing, and the whole stadium can hear him, and the crowd just went nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point on, this was in 1976. From that point on, he did it every night, and he did it really for the rest of his career. But it really started with Bill Veeck and the White Sox.
Yeah, and it was a thing when when you would go. I mean, that was and obviously more fun if obviously looking forward to Harry singing if the Cubs were losing. And I'm talking about Chicago, because who wouldn't want to get up and sing with Harry, right? It's one of those things, and that was just a kind of a little piece of his legacy that he brought, which is unique to the Cubs when he started. When I was there with the Cubs, and I know they still do it, and they brought on celebrities who were there, and it's just a really fun thing to do at Wrigley Field to honor him. And telling you again, you talk about a legacy. Wow, 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 wow. Let's talk about. I got a few more minutes left. We got about 7 minutes left. So, what made you decide to write the book about Harry?
Well, I worked for Stats Inc., Stats LLC for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We used to do support for broadcast, mostly for the Fox network and for a lot of regional channels as well. So I was the old guy in the group, and most of the people who worked with me were kids relatively soon out of college, so kids in their 20s. And a lot of them, they knew Harry, but they knew Harry from the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
They had no conception that Harry worked for the White Sox, much less the Cardinals. And I thought, for me, I had grown up a White Sox fan. And for me, Harry's years with the White Sox were one of the best parts of my life, just rooting for that team and having such a colorful announcer.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought people really should know the whole story. So originally when I talked to the publisher, I was going to talk about his White Sox years and then how he moved to the Cubs and how he became much more popular even than he had been in St. Louis or with the White Sox. And the publisher said, well, why don't you do his whole story? So I went back. I did genealogy searches.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to his widow, Dutchie. She's a character as well. She lives out in Palm Springs, so she's actually in my area where I'm living right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole story is just fascinating. Like his childhood, as I said, being an orphan and having some tough times when he was a kid, and just how he kind of pushed his way into the broadcasting business just by the force of his own will. It's just such a compelling story. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, again, no college, but he was a pusher, and obviously, for him to be successful, it just sounds like that the way he was going to do it. Like he said, he told was it Vec? He said that well, he's not very good, So, and listen, Harry did have I don't think I had a hard time listening to Harry at all. I enjoyed it. And he would get down when, whether it was Andre Dawson would strike out or or Sandberg would make an error, somebody would make a bad play, but I don't remember him being that negative, but he was just always told like Howard Cosell, just the way it is. He's going to tell the story on the field, and I always enjoyed listening to him, and wish I could have listened to him when he was in St. Louis and with the White Sox because again, iconic figure in baseball.
Oh, he really was.
Just so much fun. Even when he would slur his words, you knew that. Hey, that was we gave him a. Did people? You think people gave him a break for that? I mean, right? Because he was so beloved.
Oh, they did. They didn't care. Some sports writers would complain about it, but his fans, that didn't matter up to the very end.
And that was because, like I said, he would go out. He was a man of the people. He would go out
Yeah.
and be with the people, and he loved being. Listen, he loved being. He was a social guy, and he loved being with the folks. And
he was one of those guys that just had a tremendous connection with people from the very beginning, and not just on the air, but I talked to some of the broadcasters who sometimes would go out with Harry after games, and they said they couldn't keep up with him. He was just so energetic. Everybody wanted to talk to him. Harry was happy to talk to anybody. And like I said, up to, 2, 3 in the morning, he just kept going and going from one place to another. And that was a way for him to build up his fan base. And he just did that wherever he worked. Amazing guy.
And that was the true, and you hear about that, and you're telling me this, and you hear other stories about other people, but this was Harry Carey, right? This was his personality, and
but the strange thing about it is that he was so great with strangers and fans. He had a lot of difficulty with his own family. Chip Carey, his grandson, told me a story about how when he was a kid, he went to a Little League game, and Harry came out to see him, and Chip was watching Harry, and he realized Harry did not know which one of these kids was his grandson. And Chip said he had a really tough time with that. And it really wasn't until they worked together with the Cubs that they developed a close relationship again. But he was challenged in that way.
Yeah, and so it was, yes, I was, and it's funny that you actually went into that because I was going to ask you right before you started with Chip about the family. Did he have any issues with the family? Because listen, that's a hard life to lead with a family with kids. We all know that. So that's it. That is interesting. Yeah. What about anybody else in the family? Any other issues that propped up that you discovered?
Yeah, his son Skip was a great broadcaster also, and Skip kind of felt the same way that Chip did. There was a sort of alienation. Well, Harry got divorced from his first wife, who was Skip's mother, and Skip said, there were years where he didn't see Harry at all, and it wasn't until later in life with Skip, like what happened to Chip, that they really developed a good relationship again. But Harry was just. He was challenged in that way, but Dutchie told me something that made sense. She said, Harry really didn't have much of a childhood himself, so he really didn't know how to relate to kids very well because he never had a real childhood of his own.
Yeah, and I guess that's the sad stuff behind the scene that I guess not until you read the book that you again realized about Harry and real life. Harry Carey, but just a terrific broadcaster, fun to listen to. I remember him when Jody Davis was on the team. He came up with the song Jody Davis. It's like out of the blue, and you kind of look forward to that. It wasn't corny; it was just Harry, and that's
exactly right. Exactly right. There's nobody like him.
No, there wasn't, and at least did he. So when he passed, had he made peace with the boys?
Yeah, they really did. In fact, he was looking forward to working with Chip on broadcast with the Cubs, and they really never got a chance to do that. They had made up, in the last years that Harry was alive, but they were actually going to work together in the same broadcast booth, and that really never happened. So it was a sad thing, but he really died having made amends to his family and died with all that in a good place.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's good to hear. Good to know. And just again, a type of person as a baseball fan that I wish I had may have been able to meet, just like Harry Callis here in Philadelphia. You know, when he passed, it was just a shock to the system, and you heard all this great stuff. Harry Callis was kind of like Harry Carey. He loved being with people. He didn't turn anybody away. He wasn't egotistical about it. He was just that way. He loved baseball and baseball fans, and it's one of the things where I missed out. You know, you feel like you missed out on being able to meet him. So people such as yourself who are able to write a book about these guys, we appreciate as a fan because it gets you a little closer to who he was and the family and yeah, it's just one of those things where you're wrong place, wrong time, but you love the guy and you are just happy to listen to him and you have the memories. That's the most important thing, right?
That's exactly right.
Wow, terrific. Well, Don, listen, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Awesome to hear some really behind the scenes fun stuff about Harry that we never have known. Name of the book is
The Legendary Harry Carey, Baseball's Greatest Salesman.
Yep.
And that book was 2 years ago. I have a new book out.
New book. Tell us real quick about the book. Yes.
I wrote a book about the Black Sox. It's called Double Plays and Double Crosses, the Black Sox in 1920. It tells the story of the team after the World Series because they actually played the entire next season and apparently were still dumping games up to the time that they got caught.
Wow. All right, fine. That came out this year, right? This year, 2021.
Yeah. Just came out in March.
Great. Well, folks, take a look at you can. I'm sure buy those books anywhere books are sold.
That's right.
Don has an amazing history of authorship, if you will. Go get the books, and I definitely will pick up the Harry Carey book because I love talking to the authors about the books, and I loved Harry Carey. So, Don, again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure, Mitch.
All right, take care now.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye. So, folks, get that book, and or any of listen. Don tells a great story. It's fun to hear those again. To hear those backstories of these iconic figures in baseball, which is what I love to hear about. So, pick up the book wherever books are sold. They're on Amazon. I don't know if you can get them yet, or you probably get it on Thrift. I go on Thrift Books now. They have basically used books, and they tell you the condition, and sometimes you can get a lower price, which is great. Abe Books, the same thing. So check them out if you want to get one of those books. And Don's written a lot, so I can tell you that it's probably a very well written book. Harry Carey and the one about the Black Sox in 1920. All right, in just about a minute, looking forward to talking to Gabrielle of Boston Red Sox fandom. We are going to talk about a variety of things, including what she thinks about the Yankees. She doesn't know that yet. Hopefully she will not curse or be so. She'll be a little mild-mannered, hopefully. I'm going to ask her what she thinks about the rules, these 7-inning rules. Is that 7th inning is the 7th-inning no-hitter a no-hitter? My feeling is, if this is the way baseball wanted to play the games, are telling you this is a 7th-inning game, you know what? It's a game. So if he pitches a no-hitter, it's a no-hitter. This year. Okay? That's the way it is. People complaining that it's not a real no-hitter, well, you can't go back and say, well, it's not 9 innings. Well, I'm sorry, this is the way baseball has it, and you can't change things. Baseball is 7 innings. Doubleheaders are 7 innings this year, as they were last year. We don't like it. if you pitch a no-hitter in 7 innings, it's a no-hitter, my opinion. So, that's a story. We'll talk about Gabrielle and see what she thinks. Now, the runner on second, I can't stand. It's like you're making something up just to make it exciting, and to get the game over quicker. I believe I think it was Eric. I think it was Eric Sherman. Somebody said to me, one of my guests several weeks ago said, "Why don't you play regular extra innings for the 10th and 11th, and if nobody scores, then kind of like the shootout in hockey, then you fabricate, you put the runner on second base. But let's play the extra innings first, like a regular baseball that we all know and love should be played." All right, we're waiting on Gabrielle Starr, talking Red Sox and Girl at the Game website, excuse me, and Locked On Red Sox podcast that she is a co-host of. So we'll see what she thinks about this Boston Red Sox start at 14-9. Any surprises on the team that the Red Sox fans are looking at, and we'll see if she has some thoughts about whether how successful she was in hanging her pictures in her wherever she's living, apartment, house, whatever that is, because it was actually pretty funny. Because we all can identify with that. Is it straight? Is it not straight? If it's not straight, then you got to do it all over again. So you got to make sure if you're experienced with it, you do your measurements the right way. So hopefully she was successful and won't have learned how to do that the right way, because it's really a pain in the neck if you screwed up and you got to put different holes in the wall. It's really a pain in the neck on that. While I'm waiting for her, there is an article I haven't read yet. It's on ESPN, and it's about life after Mookie Betts, how the Boston Red Sox are built to win without him. I'm going to see if she read that. That was put up by June Lee of ESPN this morning at 7 o'clock. So I'm going to talk to her, see if she's read that, and get her thoughts on that. It's a rather lengthy article, again, which I have not read. So we'll see what she thinks about that. And and we might get into it. How she started her Red Sox fandom. I know it was with her family, and I believe they're longtime season ticket holders. Lucky her. Just fun to talk to somebody who knows a lot about their home team, which is the Boston Red Sox. I talk about Phillies a lot, and we all talk about our home teams because we know it better. But it's fun to get somebody on to give a perspective from another team, which is great. While we're waiting for Gabrielle, guess who's back at 8 o'clock on 12-ounce sports, Zingo TV channel 761. The Captain Lou extravaganza is on tonight. Captain Lou is going to be talking about a lot of different things. Let me see if I can get to him real quick. And he is going to be talking about NFL draft preview, like I mentioned in the opening. Aaron Crouch from Vegas Squares will be on at 8:10. At 8:30 from the Lions Fan Report will be Andrew Sauce. And then he's got Bill Likas from Sirius XM NFL as a host, taking a look at the picks in terms of the draft, I'm guessing, and how to wager on them. Well, that's interesting. You can bet on anything these days. So we're looking forward to Captain Lou following me at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on Zingo TV, channel 761, 12ouncesportsnetwork.com/live. You can listen to Captain Lou. All right. Gabrielle, I'm wondering where she is. Such is the life of live radio. Hopefully she will be coming on within a matter of minutes, and looking forward to talking Red Sox and other things baseball related in the Boston area. So we'll see what happens. Let's hope she can come in as we need her to, because I've been looking forward to this for a while. She is somebody who loves what she does and very passionate and excited about, I'm sure, her Boston Red Sox coming on right now early in the season, playing well at 14-9. So she's coming on. She told me she would. She was looking forward to it earlier today. Just going to go to what's going on tonight in baseball. The Red Sox are at, oh, look at that, a 1986 rematch, so to speak. Boston Red Sox at the New York Mets. Let's see. Looking at the Boston lineup, we've got Enrique Hernandez leading off at 250. Rafael Devers at 269. J.D. Martinez killing it at 370. Xander Bogaerts at 366. Vasquez, the catcher, is at 257. Right fielder Renfroe is at 176. Gonzalez at second base is at 217. Bobby Dalbec at first base is at 241. Let's look at the Mets lineup. Francisco Lindor not hitting well, 210. Still hasn't come out of his season-long slump. Dominic Smith batting 232. Alonso's got 5 homers and batting 267. Michael Conforto is batting 214. J.D. Davis is batting 414. Jeff McNeil 188. Jeff McCann, catcher, 234. Center fielder Pilar is hitting 091. So you know what? Mets don't have their offense going yet either. So which could be an interesting game. Wanted to get Gabrielle's thoughts on that too. Pitchers for the Red Sox is Richards, and for the Mets is Peterson. Glaring 6+ ERAs, 1.86 WHIP for Richards and 1.35 WHIP for Peterson. Mr. Richards is a glaringly terrible walk to strikeout ratio. He's got 12 Ks and 13 walks. That's not good. So we're waiting for Gabrielle Starr. Hopefully she will be with us in just a few minutes. Like I said, folks, live radio, you don't know. You know, we made contact this afternoon. Looking forward to it, she said. I'm just hoping that she is going to be here. Let's see. I gave her the right phone number. Yes, I did. So, we'll just keep going here. So, hitting the 7 o'clock hour as we speak. We're going to go just do a little quick roundup here and look at the who's playing in the NHL. You know, my Rangers, I got a Ranger guest coming on next week from Blue Shirts Nation. The Rangers are making it interesting in their conference to make the playoffs. They are turning it on. They play Buffalo tonight. Hopefully that's a win at home. The Flyers, not happy. Philadelphia Flyers fans not happy with their team. Wish I could help them, but I can't because I need the Rangers to. I would like the Rangers to get into the playoffs. So looking at those standings in the NHL, oh my gosh, look at that. The Carolina Hurricanes have already clinched the playoff spot. Let's see. They're followed by the Panthers, and this is the Central Division. Panthers at 67 points, Tampa Bay at 66 points, And then Nashville's at 56, followed by Dallas and Chicago. Red Wings and Columbus Blue Jackets already eliminated from the playoffs. In the East, you have those stinking Pittsburgh Penguins. You have those Washington Capitals. There's New York Islanders and the Boston Bruins. Penguins, 67 points. Caps, 66. Islanders, 63. Bruins, 60. And the Rangers at 56. Devils and the Sabres already eliminated from playoff contention. So, Rangers need to win this game. They got to pick up a couple of points on those Bruins to give themselves a better shot. Flyers at 51 points, and not looking good for Flyers fans right now. In the North Division, you've got the Maple Leafs at 65 points. Edmonton following up at 58. The Winnipeg Jets at 57. The Canadiens at 51. Flames 45 points. Vancouver and Ottawa 41-40 respectively. Probably will not make the playoffs. I don't know that the Calgary Flames will either. And in the West, 3 teams already clinched a playoff berth. The Vegas Golden Knights, 70 points. The Avalanche from Colorado, 66. The Minnesota Wild, 65 points. And then it's a big drop-off with St. Louis Blues, 48 points. Coyotes, 47. Don't know who's making the playoffs besides in that division, except for those top 3. So it's going to be interesting coming down to the end here with this NHL playoffs. NBA's got a little more of a ways to go. Not many games playing tonight in the NBA. The Nets have a 1-game lead in the Eastern Conference over the Sixers. That's going to be interesting. Plus playoff position. We'll see what happens there. Bucks are annihilated the Sixers without, I believe, Ben Simmons the other day. And they're 3.5 games back of the Nets. Then the Knicks are at 34-28, as are the Hawks. Hawks are coming on like crazy. 34-28. Celtics 32-29. And in the Western Conference, you've got Utah on top. Phoenix is 1 game behind. They also crushed the Sixers the other night. Clippers 2 games out. Nuggets 4 games out at 40-21. Man, that's a hell of a record, and you're still in it. Lakers 36-25, 8 games out of the top position, and the Mavericks coming in at 33-27. Trailblazers 32-28. So it's tight. It's interesting. We'll see what happens. Again, as we come down the stretch in the NBA, a lot of teams jockeying for position. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. Tonight in St. Louis, the Philadelphia Phillies with Zach Eflin on the mound, pitching to a 1-0 record. He's got an unbelievably terrific ERA at 2.77. His whip is 1. He's got, what he's done well, Zach Eflin has done well this year, is thrown strikes and hardly walked anybody. He's got 19 strikeouts and only 2 walks. He is focused. On the other hand, a pitcher from the Cardinals who we blasted last week when the Cardinals were in town, he is 0-4. Not the same pitcher as when he came up. His ERA is 6. His whip is 1.24. Not many strikeouts. Decent ratio, 13 strikeouts, 5 walks. Only giving up 2 home runs. So, if Eflin can do what anything close to what Zach Wheeler did last night with the Phillies, if the Phillies can hit the ball, which they did off of Martinez last time they played him here in Philadelphia, should be an easy win. However, I say that, and the Phillies typically are one that, they play against the pitcher, they hit against the pitcher, they cream the pitcher, and then they come back and play him, and they seem to forget how to hit the ball. So we shall see. Lineups for tonight's game are as follows. Brad Miller leading off in left field. We have a left field problem in Philadelphia. Andrew McCutchen is not hitting the ball. Major issue. So we got Brad Miller playing left. Hoskins, who was on fire, leads the Major League Baseball in home runs with 8, hit 2 last night, batting second. Bryce Harper's cooled down a bit. He's still batting .319. JT, 3 hits last night, batting .333. Didi in the lineup, .257 batting average. Alec Boehm having a sophomore slump season, which is unfortunate because we know what he can do. He's batting .205. Odubel Herrera, 0 for 3 last night in his Phillies debut. A lot of people don't want Odubel playing. They don't want him because he has a domestic abuse issue, as many of you know, and unfortunately, that is something that he shouldn't have done. Yet the Phillies are saying, hey, we don't have a center fielder. We need you to come up and play. And he's doing that. And how about this young kid, this rookie, Nikki Maton? He is playing second base for Gene Segura, who is out, batting .440. We like him. We like him a lot. And Zach Eflin on the mound. For your St. Louis Cardinal fans. Tommy Edman leading off at .267. Dylan Carlson playing center field, but he's batting .292. Paul Goldschmidt not hitting real well. He's hitting .230. Nolan Arenado is playing third base, and he's batting .244. Paul DeJong, shortstop, hitting .189. Tyler O'Neill hitting .158. Justin Williams playing right field, hitting .182. Ninzer catching at .263. Yachty went on the injured list today with a tendon injury, I believe. So Nisner is catching. He's batting .263, and then you have Carlos Martinez pitching. And that's your Philadelphia Phillies St. Louis Cardinals matchup, starting at 7:45 Eastern Time, which is 6:45 Central Time. Waiting for Gabrielle Starr. I'm not sure where Gabrielle is, from Girl at the Game, and we were looking forward to talking to Gabrielle about her Boston Red Sox. Not sure where she is. Going to message her again to see what's going on. I hope everything is okay with her. Going to see what's going on, if she is able to make it, and see what she says. If not, we will run it. We will, if she doesn't able to come on, we'll run an ad, and we'll see if we can talk to Cody a little earlier, and be ready for a extremely exciting announcement on the guests for next week. Gentleman played in the 60s, and he was a pitcher, and he was phenomenal for a really long time, but one particular season stands out. So we are we'll be making that announcement at 7:55 when Cody Schindler and I are finished talking. We will make that announcement, and we will talk. We will see if we can get people excited from specific areas of the country who are as old as I am, which is kind of old, but some good history in terms of pitchers. You will hear from this gentleman next week on The Burn with Mitch. Let me talk about next week's show right now, as we're waiting for Gabrielle. Mike Osaki, I mentioned that to Don Zaminda, from PSA, Sports Memorabilia. He's the lead appraiser. He runs baseballintheattic.com. And Mike will be coming on and talking about PSA, any particular issues why they're having issues, what's happened. Obviously, pandemic has made an impact in the card collecting hobby, and how that has impacted him, and get his thoughts about getting things appraised and graded, and what does that look like. Following Mike next week, we have Matt DeLeo talking NHL and specifically New York Rangers. He is from Blue Shirts Nation. A week from today, we'll see where the Rangers stand in terms of points in the standings, and we'll see get his thoughts in terms of how this team has turned around since the middle of the season. Actually, from the beginning to the middle, they're making some progress, and he sees more games than I do. Well, what's the difference? What's going on? I mean, some of these guys are just playing out of their minds, and it's amazing and fun to watch. So, and then our special guest will be sandwiched in between those two. Special guest announcement coming 7:55 tonight. In addition to the fact that you can win a contest, the Victory Dance Contest. So you will enter by making a maximum 30-second video of you doing a victory dance from your baseball team. You must have some type of paraphernalia that we can recognize on the video of which team you're representing. You hit that play button, you video for 30 seconds, you have the music going, you must not have any inappropriate graphics or music lyrics in your music, and no inappropriate actions in your video. Just make it exciting. Be happy that your team won. Show us your victory dance. You'll email that victory dance video to Adair Burn with Mitch Victory Dance at yahoo.com. Yes, I will be recording a dance. Unfortunately for my daughters, they're going to have to see it. They might not like it. I have to do it. It's my show. I got to show enthusiasm for what I'm doing. Inspired by Ellen Adair. Hence the reason why her name is on the email. And we're going to run that through. We'll run that May 1st through June 1st. And a panel of judges yet to be decided will determine who our first place winner is, our second place winner is, and our third place winner. Prizes will be given to the top three. And prizes will not be crappy prizes. They're going to be good prizes, I promise you. You're putting effort into it. You're making a video. You're sending it in. You're letting it be judged. You're letting it get out there in the internet. And it'll be fun. And, hey, it may go viral. Who the heck knows? We're going to do it. We'll see what happens. We'll see what kind of interest we get. And hopefully, I'm looking for 50, folks. Looking for 50 people to send in a victory dance. And then we'll have an opportunity to judge them. Again, panel of judges to be determined. Those who know dance for sure. And those who know fun for sure. That means, well, the fun part is me. The dance part, not so much. So that, looking forward to doing that. Having fun with that. So I don't know where Gabrielle is. What we're going to do is we're going to take a 2-minute break. And we'll have Cody coming on at about 7, scheduled for 7:30. But I'm going to text him and see if he can come on at about 7:20. So we're going to take a 2-minute break. The Burn with Mitch on 12 Ounce Sports Network. We will be back to listen to me. You'll be back to listen to me. And the rest of our show in 2 minutes.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Change your game with the all-new Pro Rock Hockey Stick, a Canadian company providing a top-of-the-line twig at an affordable price. Pro Rock sticks are extremely lightweight, balanced, and provide the perfect kick point. Get your fully customized stick today at ProRock.com. Play like a Pro Rock.
All right, folks, we're back. I just got a call from Gabrielle. I will see if we can get her on in a few minutes. Let me move some things around here. We're just messaging her back, and I've got to message Cody to see if he can call me a little bit later. All right, so let me just message her. I'm going to tell him to call in at, let's see, 7. We'll have him call in at 7:35. Okay, let me go back to Gabrielle. And she will be coming in just a minute. All right, she's going to call in. All right, so she'll be coming on in just a minute. She'll be on for a little less time, but maybe we'll get her back at some point to have a longer conversation. So we're gonna go quick here. Hey there, Gabrielle.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I didn't have my phone out because I was in the car driving, and I was like sitting there in traffic, and it turns out I was on the totally wrong street anyway in the new city that we moved to. We literally just moved.
These things happen. It's okay. All that means is I'm going to have to get you on, later, which I hope is fine.
I'm not doing anything for the rest of the night except probably watching the Red Sox lose the Mets.
Hello. But I mean, later in the month. All right, here, quick question, because I got a guy coming on. I'm going to have him come on at 7:35, so we'll get about 15 minutes for you.
Okay.
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 First question. All right, I had to ask you first. Were you the one that posted about putting your pictures up on your wall, and you were trying to get it all organized?
Yeah, that was me.
Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun to do?
It's so much fun, but you know what? I have so much beautiful artwork, and I've been having such a hard time trying to make sure I don't destroy the wall in our new apartment. That
Yes,
it's not easy.
I know, it's a pain in the you-know-what, because when my wife puts stuff up, I'm like, are we good? No, I think you need to put it down a little bit. No, I think you need to put it up a little bit. Well, what do you think? Oh, crap, here we go. Anyway, I wanted to make sure that was you. I can identify that stuff. All right.
I have never second-guessed myself more in my life than wondering if a photo was level or not.
Oh, it's the worst. It is the worst, especially when you have somebody next to you going, oh, it's left. Oh, it's good. And I go, oh,
right?
It's not. Oy, oy. All right, here's the deal. Gabrielle, are your Red Sox for real? Are they for real? What the hell is going on with this team?
Honestly, I'm not really sure because, for a second there with that 9-game win streak, they felt really, really for real. And then they've kind of scuffled a little bit. They split series with the Mariners and the White Sox and the Blue Jays. Now they're playing the Mets, who are their first place counterparts in the NL East. It's obviously it's April, so it's still way too soon to tell. But as I always say, an April game counts just as much as a September game. It's just a matter of, do you want to dig yourself out of a hole, or do you want to just be ahead to begin with? Because I like to be proactive, and I want my team to win the games early so that they don't have to come back from a deficit. And all these people love to be like, well, they're only April games. I'm like, they still count just as much as the games in August.
They do. I mean, you're right. I feel for you, but I know that. Listen, I don't know. Did you see the article? I was going to mention. I mentioned this to you. ESPN article this today came on. This morning. I'm only going to refer to it if you haven't read it. I should. I'm going to read it tonight too. By June Lee of ESPN, 7:00 this morning. Life after Mookie Betts: How the Boston Red Sox are built to win without him. Have you read that article yet?
I haven't, but I love June's writing.
Okay, I'm going to read that tonight, and you read that tonight. And
I definitely will.
Okay, all right. I wanted to just mention that, make sure you knew that was on there. Yeah, so it was a pleasant surprise for your Boston fans. It's pretty exciting. So yeah, are you? I have to ask you, are you loving the fact that the Yankees are what they're doing right now?
Well, of course. I mean, it's the whole old saying of, I support two teams, the Red Sox and whoever beats the Yankees. So seeing the Yankees lose to like Matt Harvey and the Orioles is absolutely delicious. I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time, it's early in the season, and it's not like they don't have a somewhat talented team. But I will say, I do think it was kind of ridiculous how high they were being ranked, and their predictions for the season with Fox Sports and MLB, all of the power rankings that they always do.
Right.
They're always so high on the Yankees. And to an extent, I get it because, 27 rings, blah, 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 even though it's actually 26 rings and a pocket watch. But, it's not like the Yankees haven't won in over a decade now.
Right.
And, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean a thing if you can't close in October. And over the last 2 decades, the Red Sox have become the team in the division that closes in October, and the Yankees are the team that gets booted out.
Right.
If they're even there at all.
So true. Yes, we all love to hate the Yankees, and that's funny because I have a nephew who's they're rabid like you and I about our teams, Cardinals fans. Okay. And then he goes, well, we're a better organization because we've won so many World Series. I said, you know what? You were not even, your grandparents weren't even born when the Cardinals won their first World Series. You can't stop. Like the Yankees with their 27 rings. I don't care what they did in the past. What are they doing now? That's my whole thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like Babe Ruth saying, the only home run I'm concerned with is the next one, or whatever that quote was. Right.
Exactly. So, who were you pleasantly surprised with on the Red Sox, Gabrielle? You got to have some. JD Martinez is killing the ball.
JD Martinez is killing the ball, but I will say, that's what I expect JD Martinez to do. So, on the one hand, yes, I'm thrilled that he's having a bounce back year from last year when him and most other players did struggle. I mean, the majority of baseball just kind of felt off last year. But JD Martinez, I'm like, okay, good. Congratulations. You're back to doing what you are literally here to do, which is tearing the cover off the ball. I'm more thrilled by Alex Verdugo, Rafael Devers. Obviously, Xander Bogaerts just always so talented and just such an important part of this team. But I would say Alex Verdugo has definitely been one of the most pleasant surprises, and Christian Arroyo. Christian Arroyo has become so valuable to this team, both offensively and defensively. And he's just really – it's tough to fill Dustin Pedroia's shoes. And before anybody comes for my neck, I'm not saying that Christian Arroyo is the next Dustin Pedroia because I'm not crazy enough. But I'm just saying, we've been without Dustin Pedroia basically since 2017 now for the most part. And it's hard to find someone who can even somewhat fill that void. And Christian Arroyo has been doing that.
Okay. All right, you brought up a name that I'm gonna challenge you on because we're having some issues with a guy who was in a similar situation. So I don't know much detail about Alex Verdugo and treating women properly. Okay.
Yes.
What? Yeah, we're running an issue here, a moral issue here with Odubel Herrera coming back to the Phillies. No charges filed by his girlfriend, but yet, domestic abuse. He was out of baseball. Blah blah blah. Some people like me are like, okay, you know what? He wasn't charged. There's nothing we can do about that. He knows he did something wrong, and he's getting a second chance. People don't like that. And people who I don't like, who supports domestic abuse? Nobody. But this is baseball, and the Phillies need him to play. Different story with Verdugo. What are your thoughts, real quickly? Because I mean, we could get into this when you call another time. But did you have any issues when they picked him up with this?
I definitely did. The one clear distinction I will make, and again, I'm a very outspoken advocate against domestic abuse and sexual assault. And I mean, who isn't really? But then you go on Twitter and you see a lot of people don't seem to care very much about these issues. Mm-hmm. The clear distinction is that Odubel Herrera actually was the one attacking his girlfriend. Alex Verdugo was present and witnessed it, but he wasn't the player who assaulted. And that doesn't mean that it's okay to be present and not do anything about it. He apparently recorded it on Snapchat or something. I condemn all of that strongly, and I wish that the Dodgers had handled it differently. And I don't really know how. Like, there's no way to say it well. But there is a clear necessary distinction that he's not the one who actually committed the assault. And Odubel Herrera did. And the one thing I'll say is that a lot of times, and we saw this with Roberto Ozuna with the Astros, I'm pretty sure his case was also dropped because the mother of his son also refused to testify. And oftentimes with these assault cases, the victim doesn't want to testify because they're afraid, or they feel that they're not going to be believed, or they're coerced or compelled by the abuser to not doing it because they, it's like it's their girlfriend or boyfriend, or it's the parent of their child, and they feel like they have an obligation to the parent of that child or that person because they still love them. There's a lot of reasons why somebody refuses to testify, but the police report said that his girlfriend had visible bruising and scratching on her body from him. So there was clear and present evidence. The fact that she declined to press charges doesn't mean that he didn't do that. And I think one of the biggest things with that was that I believe that I wrote about this for girlatthegame.com when he was suspended. He was, I believe, the first player who was suspended also for the postseason. And it might have been Domingo Germán, but one of those two was the first player who their suspension included the postseason. And that's a big deal because up until then, only people who violated the PED policy would be suspended. Like Robinson Cano was suspended from the postseason, was suspended from the postseason. But if you beat a woman, you can still play in the postseason. And they've since begun to do away with that rule. I mean, we saw Aroldis Chapman in the postseason with the Cubs. So I think, people want to say to me, oh, well, you believe in second chances? To a certain extent, I do. But if you didn't actually really get punished for what you did, and the person that you hurt is still out there hurt, and you didn't actually have to answer for your crimes in a court of law, then I don't think you deserve a second chance because you haven't shown that you're worthy of one yet.
Right. Exactly. All right, let's move on real quickly. I got about 6 minutes.
All right, let's do it.
What do you think about the baseball rules? Do you like 7 innings? And was it a 7-inning no-hitter, yes or no, by Madison Bumgarner?
Well, my take is that if you're going to complain about 7 innings, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that 7 innings isn't a no-hitter, but then also say that you're cool with 7-inning doubleheaders because you can't have your cake and eat it too. That being said, I'm always a fan and a supporter of as much baseball as possible. I've sat at 19-inning games at Fenway. I sat at the longest game in postseason history at Dodger Stadium in 2018. I want as much baseball as possible.
Yep.
So for me, I would prefer 9 innings, but I have to say, covering the Red Sox when they had the doubleheader against the Twins, I was exhausted. So I can't imagine how the players feel actually having to play in the snow in Minnesota for even 14 innings of doubleheader ball. I do believe that in the case of a doubleheader, 7 innings is probably a good idea because you want to preserve the health of your players.
Right. However, here's something that Eric Sherman, the author, said to me. I think it was him. Why don't you go to like 11? Regular 11-inning game, and then kind of like hockey, where hockey goes to the shootout after the overtime, in the 12th inning, put the guy on second base. Then you
kind of like the Pioneer League thing where they're doing a home run derby now.
Oh, and
if you go to extras.
I read that. That was stupid. That's just stupid. That's like hockey with the shootout. I don't like the shootout.
Exactly.
I think why are you putting the onus on 5 guys to score against the goalie when it's a team game like that? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I totally agree. I mean, I think it's going to be fun for them, but for Major League Baseball, it's literally a different ball game.
Now, to me, the 7 innings, people are bitching and moaning about you can't call a no-hitter. I said, wait a minute. Major League Baseball, this is the way baseball is being played this year. It was last year, too. If this is what Major League Baseball is calling a game, then it's a no-hitter. 7 innings or not. I mean, you got to understand, from my opinion, he pitched a 7-inning no-hitter. It's a no-hitter. He may have, maybe there's an asterisk, but, he pitched a no-hitter. That's my thought. That's my thought.
It's just people can't keep moving the goalpost just to suit their fancy.
It's ridiculous. All right, one last thing before I let you go, and then we will. I'll text you. I'll message you again about a day to come on and talk more about the Red Sox. I'm running a dance contest, Gabrielle. Ellen Adair, avid Phillies fan. She's an actor. She's danced before. She does a victory dance after every Phillies win. Okay? I said, wouldn't it be cool to do a contest? That people would do a victory dance, record a victory dance, send it to an email address that I established just for this purpose, and we will get people to judge it, and we'll give out prizes to the top 3. Do you think people in Boston would do that?
I think there are a lot of people in Boston who love to dance very weirdly, so they'd probably be in.
Awesome. I'm gonna ask you to help me push this out there. Once we get it on my daughter gets it out on social media. I have the rules. It has to be 30 seconds, no more. It can't be any inappropriate gestures or inappropriate lyrics in the music, and you have to represent your team. You have to have something, either a hat or a jersey, whatever, to represent your team. I'm gonna do it and embarrass the crap out of my daughter. So if I'm gonna do it, then other people
I'll do it.
Do it. You'll do it? Awesome.
Can I do it with my dog?
Absolutely.
She's way cuter than me.
Oh, no, I'm not going to go there. But Gabrielle, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Yeah, you're a little younger than my daughter. So I see you, and I love the fact that you are so involved. And I don't know, it sounds weird, but yeah, and you're Jewish. It's like I feel like I'm a dad to you, to the women in there who are out there, because I just love watching you post and see your face on there. And it's one of those things that it sounds funny, but I'm inspired by you with the girl at the game, the amount of baseball knowledge you have, which is awesome. Your love for baseball. That's why I love following you and having our interactions. So I love the fact that you'll do the dance thing for us. That'd be awesome.
I totally understand what you mean, because I kind of feel like you're a baseball dad too. So I totally get it. And I think it's also a very Jewish thing, of like feeling very like paternal, and
yes. It's what it is, Gabrielle. Thing. I appreciate that. I say that. I don't want you to get offended, because I don't.
No, I'm honored.
Okay,
I'm
great.
honored. Are you kidding?
I appreciate that. That's awesome. All right, we're gonna get next time. I want you to come. Well, come on, we'll figure it out. Talk more about Girl at the Game, and the Locked On Red Sox podcast. I mean, you're terrific baseball follow, terrific baseball knowledge. I absolutely love it. I so appreciate you coming on, even though it was late. That's fine. Stuff happens. That's okay. Gabrielle.
Well, next time I'll be early.
Oh, good. Yeah, balance, right? Everything's a balance. All right, listen, my friend. So much gratitude for you. Keep up your good work, and I appreciate you. And we'll get together again.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you for having me. I hope to be back with you soon.
Okay, thanks, Gabrielle. Have a good night. Enjoy the game.
You too.
Okay.
Oh, God. So far, not that great, but thank you.
Okay. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So Gabrielle was great. I knew she would be. Longer conversations. Cody's going to come on right now. Whoa, I pressed the wrong button. Oh, my goodness gracious. What am I doing here? There we go. All right, Cody. I'm ready for you, my friend. Cody Schindler's going to call in. New play-by-play broadcaster for the Peoria Chiefs out in Peoria, Illinois. Let's talk to Cody, see how psyched he is for this job. He just called, missed the call. We'll try it again. I'll have him try it again. All right, I'll have him try again. Because, there he is. 309, that's Peoria. Cody Schindler, voice of the Peoria Chiefs. How are you? This is Mitch.
Hey, Mitch, how you doing?
I am terrific. How excited are you to get this thing going, play-by-play guy?
Yeah, I'm certainly excited. We're about 6-7 days away from first pitch. We're in Cedar Rapids on May 4th.
Okay.
We're in the High A Central now, formerly the Midwest League. But
yeah.
Incredibly excited. I've met some of the coworkers over the last few weeks, and just really excited to bring some energy and some excitement to the broadcast.
Cody, you know what? Your voice is terrific.
I appreciate that. That's probably the nicest compliment anyone could give me. You could say, hey, I like your shirt, I like your shoes, that's great. But anyone who says, hey, you've got a nice voice, that that usually goes over pretty well. I
can see and I'm totally honest with you that I can't tell you how many people I've listened to all my life, but you have, just by listening, just by what you said for the last 30 seconds, I can tell that you will be an easy listen, which is great. So how are you getting prepared for the first game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've just been trying to cram as much as possible. I've got about a 42-page document back at the office with player bios of guys that could be with the ball club. We don't have the official roster as of yet, but when we get that, the game plan is to hopefully have as many names as possible on that list. So, able to knock that out in advance and kind of go from there. But that's been the big project. The game notes template's been something that's been on my plate the last few days. Our stat packs, of course. So just trying to provide as much information as possible to the other broadcasters in the league. Obviously, kind of an unprecedented season, right, with everything going on. So just trying to provide as much info as possible for those folks. And there's so many great broadcasters in the league. So just excited to meet all of them. And obviously, you might be able to meet some of them in person.
Right.
You might not with everything going on. But, just excited. That's the word. I know that's probably cliche, right? But just excited to really get started and hit the ground running on May 4th.
No, that's great. And obviously, yes, excited. It's an all-encompassing term. It's great. Are you going to be are you going to be able to travel with the team, or are you going to be doing it like just broadcasters like in Philadelphia? There's a game they're playing in St. Louis, and they're broadcasting from a studio in Philadelphia, just watching monitors. What are you doing?
Right, and I hate to give you this answer, but as of now, it's still kind of up in the air, right?
Okay.
I think as the year goes on, there could be opportunities for that, but certainly May 4th when we get ready to go against Cedar Rapids, I'm planning on doing that off a monitor back at the ballpark. I'll be up in the press box, and and I've had some experience with that. I've called some games, some basketball games this winter off the monitor. So something that I've become accustomed to, but that's how it's certainly going to start.
Right.
We'll go from there.
And are you going to be able to? Again, you've got a lot of work. You've been doing a lot of work, background work, because you have to get all this information about these players and their stats. Are you going to be able to connect with any of these players to get some personal? We always like to hear as fans. I don't care what league they're in, but just things about these players. Whether it's a personal interest story or about their baseball career. Are you going to be able to interview any of these guys beforehand? What's that like? And would you do that? If we weren't in a pandemic, would you be doing that? And what are you going to be doing, in 6 days or whatever?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, what we've been told is it could change by the day, the week. It's really kind of up in the air. The one thing I will say, if you're a Peoria Chiefs fan, if you like following minor league baseball, we have a blog and a podcast. So we're still going to continue those, and we're going to try to bring you as much of a look behind the curtain as possible. And that's really our goal. And Trevor Travis, I work closely with him, our director of digital media and communications. The technical title, and I've had some problems with this over the last couple of weeks, the technical title is Digital Media and Communications Manager. Just want to clarify that for my friend Trevor. But I work closely with him, and yeah, I've had a problem with that.
That's a long one. Hey, that's a big one.
It is, but I'll get better at it, right? There's always room to improve.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I work closely with him, and we've got a blog and a podcast. So our goal between the two of us is really just try to bring as much to the table as we can in this situation. And I'm very confident that we'll be able to do that. And, follow us all year, the Plain in Peoria blog, the Chief Talk podcast.
Okay.
Certainly, if you're a baseball fan, come out and follow us. And we're going to bring you some fun conversation. We're going to bring you informational conversation, and just try to give you an all-encompassing look at the ball club in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, I was on Peoria Chiefs today on Twitter. They got 22,000 followers, so there is a nice fan base that's following the Chiefs, which is great. And the Chiefs are now, is it a St. Louis affiliate?
That's correct. St. Louis Cardinals High A affiliate.
Because it used to be Cubs when I was there several years ago.
That's correct.
A game, so they moved that around. Cody, where did you start? Did you do Bradley basketball? Is that what you did?
That's correct. I was a student at Bradley here in Peoria. I started in 2015. I was a freshman, and I was thinking, man, how can I get involved in sports? Bradley has a fantastic sports communication program. It's actually named after Charlie Steiner. He went to school here back in the early 80s. I believe it's the only named school of sports communication in the country. And he comes back and throws a yearly symposium. He's been fantastic for the university.
Great.
But when I got to Bradley, I just thought, how can I get involved in Division I athletics? And initially I reached out to the athletic department and the sports information side of things, and I told them what I was interested in, which was broadcasting, of course. And they said, hey, reach out to Haley, who's in charge of the Braves Vision program.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the student-ran production group, and they broadcast games. They operate the cameras. They get it on ESPN's digital platforms, and the Missouri Valley Conference has a fantastic deal with ESPN and ESPN Plus and those streaming sites. So that was kind of my in. And when I joined as a freshman, I was doing camera work, graphics. I was working behind the scenes. And going into my sophomore year, a lot of those individuals were graduating. So we had open tryouts, and I went to a tryout and did well enough and just kind of got my foot in the door, right? And took it from there and just, self-critique and trying to get better and listening to other broadcasters who have, been successful and stealing from them in a way. Imitation's the sincerest form of flattery, they say.
Sure.
So just, trying to figure out my voice. And I think over the last year or two, I've kind of found that.
Yeah, well, again, it sounds like your enthusiasm as you're speaking to me. I'm hearing it. So who are your broadcast idols? I would love to know that.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, and there's tons of them, right? I love Dan Schulman and the work he's done on ESPN. He's been fantastic. Obviously, living here in Peoria, we're kind of in between Indianapolis, Peoria, Milwaukee, St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
So I've grown up listening to Dan McLaughlin with Fox Sports Midwest, now Bally Sports Midwest. Mike Shannon's been the voice of the Cardinals for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Just so many great broadcasters in this area. Pat Hughes for the Chicago Cubs, he does fine work.
Mm-hmm.
So just listen to those guys and how they kind of tell a story on the radio. And that's the big thing for me. I want to be able to call a game, but also give you some stories, some information, some background tidbits, all those nuts and bolts that really make a broadcast. And that's something at a young age I want to try to really get a hold of it and get better at.
Yeah, and minor league, I mean, you got a fan base, which is great. So it's a matter, I would think it would be hard because you don't have the access right now, especially to the players. When you watch a Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, they do the interviews and they do the backstories and they do all this other stuff to keep the fans involved. Now, smaller community, Peoria, Illinois, but I would think it would be key, like you said, as much as you can continue to engage the audience through the blogs, or even when you start your games in 6 days, give your audience as much information as possible about these players. So, because you and I know, whether it's in, let's say the sports world, because that's what we're talking about, the more you can get engaged with somebody, and I'm going this way. So Major League Baseball has an attendance problem, right? We don't have a lot of young kids interested in the game. So one of my ideas is to every team, every game, and unfortunately after the pandemic is over, you got to leave some time for kids to meet these ball players. I don't care if it's an autograph session or not. Have somebody set aside, and maybe it's just once a week on a Sunday or a Saturday when the kids come to games, and just have a little question and answer session with a player. Because once you engage them, they're in, right? Once you engage them, you're in, and that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you can get the kids around the game of baseball, that's important. And speaking from personal experience, right? I can't necessarily speak for others, but yeah, I was invested in the game at 4 years old. You start out playing t-ball in your local community as a way to get out and meet meet other kids when you're 4 years old. And then you realize, hey, I really enjoy doing this. And you're playing catch in the backyard. And I still remember to this day, right, when I caught my first ball in the glove. It was a milestone, right, for a 4-year-old.
Yes.
So just getting kids involved is fantastic. And from the teen side, you touched on it with the pandemic. Obviously, it makes it difficult, but just getting younger people involved in the game of baseball would go a long way. And I know we've got a great plan in terms of our social media and our digital media side as a way to try to engage those fans, right? Because 22,000 people follow you on Twitter. The St. Louis Cardinals, one of the most historic fan bases, historic franchises in Major League Baseball. You have those at your disposal. There's an opportunity to do great things, and I'm just excited to get started and see how we really attack things. But when baseball can draw in that younger crowd, like the NBA, the NFL, other sports has done, it will do wonders. And I think we're on the right track, right, with guys like Fernando Tatis, Ronald Acuna Jr. I know you're a Philly guy, so Bryce Harper. Those guys can do a lot of things for baseball. And Trevor Bauer, too, right? He gives up a tank to Tatis, and Tatis kind of celebrates and shows him up. And Bauer says, hey, we need more of that. And that's great for the sport. And I'm not, say what you will about each individual, but I absolutely love it, and I love the response from Bauer, who just gave up a home run.
Just do it. So when you're trying to do this, the Chiefs, everybody's independently owned, and with the league. So tell me how the structure works. Peoria Chiefs, everybody in that league are going to be responsible for their own social media and not necessarily the league itself, right? In the minor league baseball.
That's correct. We have our own social media manager, and that's my buddy Trevor.
Right.
He'll kind of oversee everything, and I may have a role in there, depending on the day, the night, depending on what's going on in the world. But we've got our own independent team, and we just try to look at things the best way possible, and just trying to get the word out there about the Peoria Chiefs. Peoria is a fantastic sports town, and looking forward to having fans in the ballpark in 2021.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask you, what's the status with fans? Yes?
Yes, fans are a go in Peoria. We're excited.
All right. What kind of capacity are we looking at?
I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. It's dependent on the state right now. Obviously, we're always hoping to get more, but I don't have the exact number in front of me, but
it's limited. It won't be full capacity. It won't be full. It's just going to be limited.
Correct. It will not be full capacity. The state will determine when we can advance, but we've been working hard. We were zip tying some seats the other day. Seats that you could sit in, seats you couldn't sit in. So all hands on deck, and
well, that's it. You're right.
Just excited because I can't emphasize this enough. Depending on how familiar your listeners are with Peoria, Illinois, it's fantastic sports town. Love our professional teams here. You got the Rivermen as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We love our high school sports.
Oh yeah.
So just a great sports town, and one that I'm excited to be a part of, and I've been a part of for a while now.
It's great.
Really enjoy it here.
It's I mean, I was there I just lived there for a year, and I was able to listen. This is back in 79, 80 when Bradley basketball, when they got into the NCAAs, it was just amazing. So that it was fun. My brother-in-law played for Richwoods. He was a fullback, and he fumbled on the goal line, and we'll never forgive him for that one game. So that was always fun. My nephew Connor played for Dunlap, and 2 years before he went to college, his junior year they made it to the state championship. His senior year they didn't quite get that far, but yes, it's just fun. It's small enough. It's a small big city. It's a big small city, whatever you want to call it, small big city. Yes, people do love their sports there. I told you I mentioned to you on Twitter that I'll be coming out to Peoria. Hopefully, I can meet you and tell you an interesting story that I've told lots of people that probably tired of hearing this, of how me going to a Peoria Chiefs game was the start of a very unique trip where I ended up getting to meet Kevin Costner.
Is that right?
We'll have to talk at some point, and I'll tell you. If I come out, we talked about me meeting you there. So, Cody, I will let you know when I come, because I'll definitely want to come, because the Chiefs are home when I'm there, I think. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, we'll be in touch, and I'll tell you that story. I think
absolutely.
All right, so keep up the good work. Like I said, looking forward to, and you'll get out the information as this team gets started of the players to watch, and that's all part of your homework. And then the season will start on is it next Monday? You said, right?
Next Tuesday, May 4th.
Oh, so it's a week from today. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, 7 days, right? That is
7 days.
That is exciting.
Yes, I know you're excited, and that's you should be. Absolutely. Cody, listen, best of luck to you. I know that you'll do great just by the sound of your voice and how excited you are. And I hope to connect with you down the road. Maybe we'll talk before I come out there. I see how the season's going. And then definitely when I come out, I'll message you and see if we can set up a time to meet.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. And love getting people in the ballpark. But I appreciate the time and really enjoyed talking to you over the last, 20 minutes or so. And, best of luck.
I appreciate that. And you want to be part of my major guest announcement for next week? I told people I have a major guest next week coming on.
Major guest?
played baseball in the 60s, pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, the last pitcher, probably ever, to win 30 games in a season. Denny Mclean will be my guest next week on this show.
That's a big time get right there. 30 wins, and I'll go ahead and say it. That will never happen again.
It won't happen again, Cody.
Because a 20-game winner is quite impressive.
I know. So, and I remember watching the game on my TV at home. I remember him he and I forget who the catcher was, jumping into each other's arms. And it was like, holy crap, 30. It was unheard of even then. And then he did it. It was like, holy crap, this is never going to happen. And I encourage you and everybody listening to look up his stats that year. They are freaking amazing. So Denny Mclean will be on my show next week. More to come. I'm going to post pictures of him. He and I met him. Well, we go back, way back. A story about that on the show next week. But I met him two summers ago at the Hall of Fame. I bought a ball from him with all the inscriptions of his records of that year. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be a great interview. And, I thought maybe you were going with the Bird, Mark Fidrich.
No, he's not
I know
around
he didn't
anymore.
play in the 60s.
No.
But, yeah.
He's passed on, unfortunately.
Has he? Wow.
Yeah. But Denny's at 77, and he sounded really good. I spoke with him on the phone last week, so looking forward to that.
That's fantastic. Well, I hope it goes well. And
thank you.
Hey, you'll get a listen out here in Peoria, Illinois.
I appreciate that very much. That's exciting to know. All right, Cody. Best of luck to you, my friend. Enjoy your time broadcasting the Peoria Chiefs.
Appreciate it, Mitch. Thanks for having me on.
All right, take care. Did you hear his voice? He's got a voice for baseball, for broadcasting. I'm not lying. It's true. So, yes, Denny Mclean will be on next week on this show, the last and probably the last ever 30-game winner in the Major League Baseball. Go look up his stats for that year, 1968, I believe. Just phenomenal. So, excited about that. Mike Osaki from PSA Sports will be on also next week, along with Matt DeLeo talking NHL and Rangers. Thank you to Don Zaminda, Gabrielle. We'll get you back on again. Cody Schindler for coming on tonight. It was awesome. I appreciate it. Victory dance contest stuff will be posted, I promise you, this week. Get folks to dance. Again, rules will be posted. It should be fun. Prizes will be awarded. Good prizes will be awarded. Coming up next, again on Zingo TV, channel 761, 12ouncesportsnetwork.com/live, is the Captain Lou extravaganza. Captain Lou. His show tonight includes the following guests, and they are as follows. At 8:10, he's doing their draft preview with Aaron Crouch of Vegas Squares. 8:30, Andrew Sauce at Lions Fan Report. At 9 o'clock, Sirius XM NFL host Bill Likas at Bill Likas, Lekas, and he's going to tell you, they're going to look at picks and tell you how to wager on them as well. Give Captain Lou a listen as soon as this show is over. Show replays will be up later this evening. I appreciate you all listening. I have had a blast this evening with our guests, and I'm going to turn it over to Captain Lou. Everybody have a good week. Be safe. Continue to wear your masks. Take care. We'll talk to you next week.